Hey guys, how's it going? So today I have a very exciting spring book haul for you, yay! I have 7 books to show you, so yeah, let's get into it. The first book is by Truman Capote, and that is In Cold Blood. This cover, when I took a picture of it and put it on Twitter, got a bit of excitement and positive vibes, because yeah, it's a pretty cool cover. Rincey from Rincey Reads really liked it. As did I. I was actually looking for the Penguin Modern Classics version, but this is the only one available. So this is a non-fiction story about a murder that happens to a family of 4 in Holcomb, Kansas. They were shot point blank in the face, and there was no motive, no suspects, no idea why it happened. And Truman Capote was one of the people kind of investigating, not as like a detective or police officer, but as somebody from the newspaper reporter perspective. And so he kind of became very obsessed with this case and ended up writing this entire book on it. It's definitely a dark read, but I'm really excited for it just because it is a book that was published originally in 1965 and is still popular today, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. The second book is Jon Krakauer's Under the Banner of Heaven. As you may or may not know, I'm a big fan of Jon Krakauer's writing, and he usually writes sort of adventure, mountaineering sort of books, but this one is different. This one focuses on religious fanatics and specifically fundamentalist Mormons. It kicks off with the story of 2 brothers who murdered a woman and her child because, as they claim, God told them to. He begins the story with this murder and then delves into the world of religious fanatics, people who will answer to no one but God, people who run these groups and are basically sick in the head. I mean, it'll be creepy, I'm sure, and I have a feeling I will get very angry reading it. When I brought this book up to the counter, the woman said that this was a fantastic book, and then she's like, well, not in the way that like it's such a great message, it's really well written. And I was like, yeah, I bet, because this is going to be another really dark read. The third book that I picked up for myself is one that this community will be very familiar with, and that is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I have read this book before, but I do not own my own copy, and since it was recently released in paperback and the movie's coming out soon, I figured it was high time I buy my own. I really don't feel like this book needs any explanation. I feel like everyone talks about it in this community, so there's no real need for me to get into the story, but I really loved it the first time, and I know I'll be rereading it maybe before the movie comes out, who knows, but I'm just glad I grabbed my own copy. The last 4 books I received from Penguin. The first is The Secret Hum of a Daisy by Tracy Holzer. This is another middle grade book. After receiving and reading Under the Egg and really enjoying it, like it's one of the best books I've read this year, I was more open to trying out another middle grade. This one had really strong reviews on Goodreads, and so I figured I'd give it a shot. It's about 12-year-old Grace, and her mother travel around sort of like gypsies. She's never lived in one place for too long. Grace is getting really sick of this lifestyle. She shares this with her mother, and then her mother dies, and Grace is upset. The last thing she ever said to her mother was something so negative. She has to go live with her grandmother, who she doesn't really know, and start this whole life over. And then one day she discovers a little paper crane outside her school, and I guess the paper crane was something that her and her mother always used to communicate with each other, so she kind of takes it as a sign to look for these cranes and kind of help her discover what is home to her. This next one is a strange book, and I definitely hesitated before deciding to ask for it. It is The Merciless, and it is by Danielle Vega. This cover alone is a little interesting. We have the hot pink with the sort of sign of Satan going on there, and on the back it says, "Forgive us, Father, for we have sinned." And then on the inside cover it looks like this. This is the description of the book. It basically is about a girl named Sophia, and she's in high school and she kind of wants to get in with the popular crowd. And turns out the popular crowd, they're some dark people. They have this girl named Brooklyn Stevens who they have decided is possessed, and they need to perform an exorcism on her. And the exorcism is not so much an exorcism as a sort of torture session. It actually says right here, for mature audiences only. So the fact that this is a young adult novel and it has for mature audiences only on the inside of the book, definitely, yeah, this is a horror, suspense, terror kind of thing. Apparently the author was really into Stephen King when she was little, and that sort of influenced her to write this kind of book. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. The third one that I got from Penguin is Inland by Kat Rosenfield. This is the same person that wrote Amelia Ann is Dead and Gone. And I never read that book, but I heard a lot of good things about it, so I decided to pick this one up. This is another young adult that follows a girl named Callie Morgan, and her mother drowns in the ocean in sort of what seems to be a mysterious circumstance. And Callie is living with her father in the Midwest, you know, far away from the ocean. And then, but she continually has sort of panic attacks related to the fact that her mother drowned, goes to the hospital a lot, etc., etc. She ends up moving back towards the ocean, and although her panic attack stops, she starts having this sense that she's being called by the water, like the river and the ocean are calling her. So this definitely sounds like some sort of psychological thrill kind of thing. And also I liked this cover with the water sort of rushing up on her. I thought that was a very cool representation of what this book may possibly be about. Lastly is The Glass Sentence by S.E. Grove. This is a fantasy YA one. It is part of a series. It was kind of advertised as, if you've read His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, this is another book that would appeal to you, and I did read that series and I did really enjoy it, so I decided to give this one a shot. The premise is there's another girl named Sophia. Sophia seems to be a popular name this time, though spelled differently, and she is living in Boston in 1891. She ends up having to go on a sort of quest adventure thing, as is very common in a fantasy novel. The only big difference is, yes, this does take place on Earth, but all of the continents are in different time periods. There was something called the Great Disruption, and ever since then, if you jump to different continents, there could be anywhere from prehistoric times to far future. So because Sophia is in 1891 Boston, we sort of start off with a time period that we are very familiar with, and then as we follow Sophia traveling, it sounds like we'll probably get to see some of these different places and their different time periods that they're in. I also like this cover. It's got like a special thing on it, and then underneath it's actually all decorated under there. So I thought that was pretty cool. So if you have read any of the ones that I talked about, any of these books, and you want to share what you thought down below, feel free, let me know. I'm also probably going to do a review on each one of these at some point, but if there's any in particular that you really want me to do a review on, let me know in the comments as well. As always, all of our links are in the doobly-doo. We got the Twitter, the Goodreads, Book Depository, etc., etc. You can, you know, go look for them if you want to. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.